Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very unique and special Words, Images, and Worlds. Delighted to be talking the world of cosplay and character designs once more with Al Bigley. Al, thank you for jumping in, joining, and we are totally twinning here with our shirts.
That's right.
Yeah,
Batman forever.
that's right. I think I've got like a Batman 89-ish thing happening, I think is what that is. And do you want to give the history of the shirt that you're currently wearing?
This is older fans will recognize, of course, the logo from the Ben Cooper 60s through 80s Batman costume, Halloween costume. And back then, of course, they couldn't just make them authentic. They had to put the character's name across the chest, probably to benefit the sweet old aunt on the corner that was putting candy in your bag, going, "Why aren't you just a great Batman? Aren't you a wonderful Darth Vader? Great costume, Chewbacca."
Yes, yes, yeah.
Even their Hulk costume has Incredible Hulk written across what's supposed to be his bare chest.
Oh, that's funny. That is so funny. Keeping everybody up to date on all the characters. I love it.
Right.
Yeah.
See, I need those now as an old timer myself. I go to conventions, I see these amazing costumes, which might be from anime or video games. I'm like, that's amazing. I don't know who it is, but boy, that's
Hmm.
amazing. So
Yeah,
maybe we
yeah.
should bring that back. The big,
Totally. Like a banner on the back. Yeah.
right, big letters. Pokemon 7. Something like that.
That's right. I haven't cosplayed since I was probably, I guess I was in middle school the last time I dressed up as a character full on, and it was Jim Carrey's Riddler because I was a big Jim Carrey fan. Wanted to be Jim Carrey in middle school, but that's a whole other story. Maybe for another episode. If Jim comes on, we'll talk about it. But I've been really impressed with the cosplay that I've seen you do. It's obviously a labor of love, and also been just heartened by the images of you posing with particularly young fans. I've seen a lot of that on social media, which is just a beautiful thing to me.
Well, thank you.
Mhm.
About a year or two after starting into this hobby, I knew we had a group of other cosplayers just from running into them at conventions or what have you. And I said, why don't we approach hospitals and worthy causes in our area? We've got the costumes, we've got the characters, and we've been doing that for a few years, especially with the local Levine's Children's Cancer Hospital.
Mhm.
Um, and it's always gratifying because you do get some kids, some in hospice even, which is very sad, that want to meet Spider-Man or meet Captain America. Um, but also at conventions, I'm surprised. Yes, kids know Spider-Man, they know Batman. But the reaction I got, for example, to my comic book version of the Vision,
Mhm.
young kids, they're not scared of him, they recognize him. Because he looks very different from what you think they know, which is the movie version of the Vision from the Avengers movies.
Mhm.
But kids also see it as, hey, you're participating along with me.
Yeah.
I'm dressed up too. I may have the Ben Cooper plastic Halloween costume, but we're both Batman in this case. And isn't that cool?
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
kids respond to the craftsmanship of this too. Anybody can grab material and do this, whether you're 6 or whether you're 60.
Mhm.
I think that appeals to a lot of young kids also.
Yeah, yeah. But it's so fun to see at conventions, and very often, people will pose with you. I posed with a really convincing J. Jonah Jameson a few years back, and a Doctor Strange, Khonshu, and we're talking like very, very tall costume for Khonshu. Like I had to turn around to my friends and go, "You're seeing this too, right? Like I'm not being summoned by the moon god here, right?" So it's a lot of fun to see people engage that way.
Right. When I first created my Adam West Batman cosplay, I was surprised at how much love and respect I got from people my age or older, because that's their Batman.
Hmm.
Mine
Hmm.
too, but I was only one when the show premiered. And it's kind of funny because they see you also as that guy,
Yeah.
which is not always the case. So there's this wide range. Same with Captain America. Some older people get more into him, but it's always a different story with different people. Some
Hmm.
are just, hey, you're having a good time. And like you said, I used to cosplay and I appreciate this. And other people know what I like to think of it as, where it's artwork that gets brought to you.
Hmm.
Instead of you seeking it out, well, here we are at an event. And in a way, I'm carrying around a canvas of something I created, going, hey, look at this, everybody. What do you think? Even if you don't like it, give me your feedback.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
an interesting aspect of it too.
yeah. What is that process like for you? How do you decide on the characters and then go about designing these costumes?
Well, usually these are characters that mean something to me.
Hmm.
I got into comics in about second grade, which for me is like 1972, 73. So when I think of Spider-Man, it's the big iconic, bold John Romita Sr. Spider-Man. And that's what I try to create in that cosplay. Um, and also some characters that you don't see portrayed that how shall I say this? Well, we've seen Daredevil in live action thanks to the various films and TV shows, but you
Hmm.
don't see the 1960s, 70s Daredevil as drawn by Gene Colan,
Yeah,
pulled right
yeah.
out of those 2D pages and made into 3D. And I like choosing those characters that are big and simple and bold and just have that impact. Just like when you were a kid seeing them on a coloring book cover or a T-shirt from across the store. There's Spider-Man. There's Captain America. Before you
Hmm.
even get close enough to examine the comic book cover or the T-shirt, that thing that reaches out to you, those bold colors and bold strokes that say this is the character, this is what you love about him. And you can say the same thing for like Bugs Bunny or Mickey Mouse. And those images now they affect a fan. But that's what I wanted to bring to life. These normally 2D images, classic Ant-Man from the 60s and 70s.
Hmm.
Even when I did the Vision, I wanted him to look like the comic book version, which you just don't see. And just also some of the challenges, how does that come to life in 3 dimensions?
Yeah, yeah.
Where, in cosplay, you've got these things. Well, it's got to be wearable, obviously. Hopefully you can walk in it. Hopefully you can sit in it. Comfort's in there somewhere, but usually comfort comes way down the line. And again, it's like you're wearing the artwork, and that might not be too physically comfortable, but you're getting the point across. But these are always challenges, and they're challenges too for people that make these characters in film and television and live action. They've got to look at it and go, how do we make that cape work? Yeah, that's impractical. That's and they come up with answers.
Hmm.
And I know
Hmm.
sometimes it's CGI that we don't have in real life, but other times it's how do we make this work so the guy can move and function and all that. Let me show you something. Speaking of the vision,
Hmm.
another bit of fun I have is because I design most of these costumes in Photoshop and then send the file to a printer overseas along with measurements, and they've got a certain platen where here's where the chest goes, here's where the legs start. It's never as simple as like a T for a shirt and a V, inverted V for pants. It's got to be crazy. But
Hmm.
once you
Hmm.
get the hang of that, you can design like crazy. When I did the Vision, the comic book Vision, I wanted to incorporate a to get the point across that he is a synthetic man. I wanted to incorporate kind of a
Yeah.
circuitry
Uh-huh.
circuitry pattern, but also use it as shading in a way. It's lighter in some areas, it's darker in other areas, and just have fun with it that way.
Hmm.
Even though it
Hmm.
still doesn't go that far from the character as we saw him in the comics. And I like making those little additions. And from there, I was able to grab, some gold gloves that I could um, continue that circuitry motif on.
Love it. Love it.
There's some nice gauntlets, and it's very subtle stuff. But I love that aspect of being able to not just bring these characters to life, but bring them into a place where I can customize them and make them mine. Like here's one of my Captain America helmets.
Hmm.
This you can buy this overseas in Asia. They sold these as just like inexpensive vinyl helmets that you could just they're like in a dollar store, just like a small what do you call those sealed bagged um displayed items. They're in a bag on a peg.
Hmm.
And I took this and I recolored it, repainted it because this was dark brown to match the Avengers movie from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
wanted this to represent really the comic Captain America. What I did was I created the little wing motif on the side, but I wanted to be more like the comic book. So if you see, they kind of stick out a bit.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yes,
Yeah.
like the Avengers movies, they are kind of flat on the side, but I like how they've got some bas relief effect going there,
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
bit, and just making something like this work.
How
And it
how
seems,
comfortable? I'm sorry.
go ahead, no,
I was just gonna ask how comfortable is the Captain America helmet?
It's pretty comfortable. Now they do make some of these things when they're made commercially for everyone. They're usually a little bit big because a small person can wear a larger size, but a big person can't wear a smaller size. So with those helmets, I've got to modify them a bit to fit on my face correctly.
Hmm.
You see, I've put in some additions here beneath the eye slits to help close up the space because it
Yeah.
sits a little low on my face. And that's another way you get into customizing is just to fit you, as opposed to, oh, this would look cool or that would look cool. Sometimes you got to just adjust things for your own size or your own needs. And again, other times, uh, just comfort or portability or ease of getting in and out of them. All these things you don't think about. Some masks are uncomfortable. And some of these items, cosplayers usually learn to wear them at home for a while before a convention because if those boots are a little too tight or too loose, you're like, oh, they're fine. No, no, no. You got to think about you're going to be spending maybe 4 hours in these boots or those gloves or that helmet that's pressing you right here. So it's
Yeah.
good to try these things out, make sure everything's as comfortable as it can be, make the adjustments if you need to. But usually, yeah, like I said, comfort comes way down the list of what you're trying to do with cosplay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Not something you're going to sit around in the house in necessarily.
no. But again, the rule is try these out at home. Sit around the house for like an hour before you think it's all good. Let me go out and spend 5 hours on a concrete convention floor in these
Yeah.
same boots. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Even
find out.
comfort wear, it gets difficult. Yeah. Go
Right.
ahead. Sorry.
And then find out they're too small. You don't want to do that the day of the convention. But if you do, you come back, you take care of it for next time. You make a note. Do this to the belt so it doesn't slip down too high or too low, or do this with the cape so you don't step on it. All these
Yeah.
weird things.
Yeah. I'm thinking about that scene in Batman Begins where Christian Bale is like fashioning these different pieces that he's purchased from, global markets and
Yes.
different places. Uh, do you find that you look for particular objects as you're sort of adjusting these and designing them?
Well, the fun part is I like doing as much as I can making these costumes, but there are times you've got to buy things that you just can't make. Like I showed you the Captain America helmet. That's an inexpensive item overseas. Now it's up to like $30 or $40 thanks to it being 10, 12 years since that first Avengers movie.
Hmm.
And everyone's bought them up. And even when you do buy things, you can still modify them for your needs, or you have to for your size or comfort. There are other times you just have to outright buy something, like for my Adam West cosplay. Of course, there's a guy, Chuck Williams, that makes exacting replicas of the costumes from the '60s Batman show. Same material, same blueprints, same patterns, and you just can't top that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and they're not cheap. So that's where you're like, well, I'm gonna spend a little. I'm gonna splurge and get that. I can't make that. Same with certain utility belts or things. But usually it's a nice hybrid of what can I make and have it work and be convincing. What do I need to buy? Need in quotes, of course.
Hmm.
And what can I meet in the middle? So many of these masks, I'll buy them and then cut this out and put this in, and it might need padding added. It might need this just to get the effect. New eyes, things like that. Here's a good example. Like this is I call this '70s Batman.
Oh, yeah.
That cowl is from a manufacturer called Tiger Stone. And I took it and modified it a bit, put in the white eyes, not sure how much you can see.
Yeah. Yeah.
I designed the bodysuit and made the belt myself. I had a seamstress make the trunks and the gloves and cape. And you can find those boots, of course, on eBay or Amazon. So that's kind of a good example of a hybrid costume.
Yeah.
And since then, I've made a whole new belt with a belt buckle that a fan makes using 3D printing. So it's a nice
Nice.
buckle that has a little insignia in it and everything. Same idea. There's a military belt underneath that keeps it snug. Everything else is foam or plastic vials you can get from laboratory supply.
Hmm.
And I like that aspect of it. Now, some people say it's not cosplay if you just went and bought the whole thing. But it is, that still qualifies because
Yeah.
you're still bringing something unique to it by just putting it on you. Some people like to make everything. I've got a friend that, he's been Thor, Captain America, a few others, Indiana Jones, and he just prides himself on finding these things. And hey, you know what? If I took a little bit of electrical tape and I did this, and if I break off that broomstick and kind of attach it to this, and he's got Indiana Jones. It looks great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's all different. Some people are on this side buying everything. Other people are over here. I'm going to make every darn bit of that costume. But it's all creativity. It's all making it what you want to see.
Hmm.
And hopefully other people too. But in my case, I just, wouldn't it be cool to have, how would Ant-Man look in real life? The comics Ant-Man, how would the Vision look from the comics? And there it is. Hopefully other people dig it too, and most do. A lot of shows I get, like when I'm Red Brown Captain America, like, dude, I get it. I get it. People my age, of course, but so it's good to run into people where they're like, I know what you're doing here. That's excellent. A
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. I was going to ask about that response from other fans, and especially like those younger fans that I mentioned. I saw a picture. I think it was maybe a young Captain America looking up at you dressed as Captain America just recently.
Right.
That's got to be just a rewarding and heartwarming kind of moment.
It's a lot of fun. Usually I've got friends that do this, especially during the hospital visits. They stay very much in character. I have a dear friend that does Wonder Woman, and if a little girl or boy asks her about her bracelets, she has the whole story. Here's who crafted them on Paradise Island. Here's what they mean. Here's how long I've had them. They help me in this battle. I try to do that, but I tend to, with young people, eat your vegetables. Captain America says stay in school, and the parents are nodding in the background. Of course, Adam West Batman plays greatly toward that. Pedestrian safety, old chum.
That's right.
But
That's right.
but it's a lot of fun. The Vision is kind of weird. He's my first character, I think, besides Spider-Man, that's completely covered. So you really find yourself not speaking a lot because I'm behind a rigid mask, so it comes off like this too. Yes, I've experimented with different voice changers in this mask and even little LEDs for that, but it's just insurmountable right now to make that happen. It's an
Yeah.
insurmountable curve of just how do I get that in there, make it work properly. That's another aspect of cosplay, adding special effects. And can I do it with what's available? Can I change things and make it work? Some the answer is no. And you just got to go, well, maybe next year they have an even smaller voice changer device and I can just put it right here on the chin or something. But he's interesting because you walk around knowing you're completely covered, and you do find yourself moving a little more slowly and more deliberately, and not assuming action poses like you would as Spider-Man when somebody wants a picture.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
weird how the characters do kind of take over you sometimes, and how you interact with others. But most people are friendly. Most people understand. I hear a lot of, man, that's legit. That is legit. Or that's the best so and so. And that's gratifying too.
Yeah.
Um, but it's fun. It's fun doing characters a little more offbeat that you don't see all the time. And of course, as far as people responding, of course, you're going to get a lot more response to Batman and Spider-Man than the Vision or classic Ant-Man or Black Bolt. I did Jack Kirby's Black Bolt years ago.
Nice. Nice.
People scratch there. Are you Blue Beetle? What is? Because where do you see Black Bolt unless you're a comic fan? Yes, I know there's been a series and a movie. I don't think he looks like Kirby's Black Bolt, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a lot
Well,
of
it certainly sounds like it. And I was going to ask you, you were talking about the voice modulators and things. Saw a tactical Batman suit a few years ago that made really interesting use of that.
oh
So
yeah,
people do all sorts of interesting things.
right, right.
Yeah.
But I looked into ways of getting, because you see with a voice change, you've got to have a receiver and or rather a transmitter and a speaker.
Hmm.
So as far as, and that's a very tight, limited costume. So as far as putting those two devices somewhere on that costume, I think I came up with a way the speaker could be in the back. But then again, like imagine at a convention, somebody's at the comic book boxes across from you. You're over here facing this way. Is this guy talking to me? Right? This is the Vision. Hello. I'm looking for back issues of Jimmy Olsen. Is that guy? Now, but yeah, technology is great. They have so many things now. As you know, there are people making their living making just Batman masks, accessories. I mean, this company overseas where I send my designs, the bodysuits to get printed, I think that's all they do,
Wow.
is
Wow.
that kind of thing. Another interesting reaction with younger kids, especially when you get more toward middle school, is you're not Batman. You're not the real Captain America. You're a guy in the suit. You're just a guy in a suit. I go, well, what is Captain America? What is Batman?
Right.
You're not real. Well, hey, feel my bicep. I feel. How do I know you're real? I tell them. We get into philosophy at that point.
Yes, yes. So let me tell
Existential.
you about Descartes, son.
What is real, my boy?
That's right.
Is anything? Can
That's
anything be said to be real?
that's a great Adam West. What is real citizen? I mean, that would be really interesting. Curious about the best spaces, the best convention spaces that you've been to for enacting some of this as well.
What do you mean exactly?
So like I'm a regular attender at Heroes Con, for example. So curious about some of your go-to convention spaces where people might bump into you showing this artwork.
Well, I'm local to Heroes Con. I live near Charlotte, North
Hmm.
Carolina. I always do that. There's a great convention. I'm surprised more people don't know about it. Every 3 months, there's a convention in Concord, North Carolina, which is right down the road from me, called the Charlotte Comic Con. And
Hmm.
they've had this show going for at least 20 years. It's always on a Sunday, about every 3 months. And it's not a big show, but it's getting bigger and great for comic fans, cosplayers. I do the Durham shows. I used to do Dragon Con years ago, Galaxy Con,
Hmm.
NC Comic Con. Those are getting very big. I mean, I noticed this year at Heroes. Maybe you noticed this. It used to be as you walked into the convention floor, if you turned to the left, your left, everything would kind of peter out as you went in that direction. And the cosplay stuff was over there, the display cars.
Hmm.
Now, as far as dealers and vendors, it's wall to wall.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that show is getting very big. Um, I've been to other shows as a comic guest where I set up. Like I was in Albuquerque last year at their show, which was a lot of fun. Um, but never really traveled far to do the cosplay stuff,
Yeah.
North Carolina, South Carolina, just because it's, oh, am I going to take a week to pack and travel? But maybe in the future.
Yeah.
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 But you
Uh,
just can't beat Heroes Con.
yeah, I'm a fan. I've had friends tell me about it, and so it's been a regular spot the past few years. I'm surprised I've not ran into you, but I probably have and just haven't realized it.
What's funny too is sometimes you'll be in costume, like say Captain America or Batman, any version of those characters. And you come by and maybe people are kind of aware of you, but they're like, weren't you just, I'm like, aren't these masks supposed to work? The comics said if you just cover everything. And other times I can put people on because I'm like, they bring up Captain America. I'm like, did you see that great looking guy with the muscles? Oh, he was great. And go for a half hour with that. And finally, it's like, I was the guy. I'm kidding with you. But most of the time, masks don't work. The comics have lied to us, unless you wear a
Yes.
full mask, of course. Comics have lied to us.
And then
You know,
mobility is an issue, I'm sure.
yes, yes. Masks like the ones I showed you and mentioned, they cut off a lot of your peripheral eyesight, of course, because you're covered over here. In a case like Spider-Man, where you've got a cloth mask with eye holes, but you're putting, in my case, mesh over that, and the eye holes are only about this big, you know,
Yeah.
that's a problem. But it all depends. Some people do cosplays that don't involve a mask, of course, and that's the best. For my Daredevil cosplay, the mask I put in red tinted lenses. So you wear that for about 4 or 5 hours. It washes out all color.
Mm.
You go to look at old comics, like an old Daredevil comic, looking for back issues at a convention. Oh, this cover's faded. He's like almost white. No, no, those are the lenses canceling out all red. Um, Speaking of that, another attractive part to me about cosplay is I did a recent Batman costume, and I thought, what if the Batman '60s series went another year? Wouldn't it be cool if he had like a infrared sonar costume? So I come up with this red and black version of his costume, which people react to. Is that supposed to be like Daredevil mixed with Batman? Oh, no, what I didn't see that. What is that? And just you can modify it and continue to customize these things in those ways. And you see
Yeah.
people do that all the time. They do mashups and they do what if Daredevil had armor, or what if Spider-Man had a cape. So that's all part of you doing your own personal customization of these characters.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, and you talk about kids and seeing little kids at shows. I recently got into making stickers I can give away to kids of
Yeah, love
my
it.
my different cosplays. And it also helps if they're a little frightened of the character. You can go, oh, here, have a free sticker. How bad can I be if I'm giving you a free sticker? Um, and these are lots of fun.
Love it.
See, again, I had to find a place to put these. If the character has a belt, Batman, his utility belt was pretty easy. Captain America's got a little belt there.
Mhm.
You can stow them away and then grab them and give them to kids. Sometimes that's tough because you've got a mask on and you've got the pouch attached right here close to your side. So you're looking down, you can't see the pouch, you're wearing gloves. Usually you take out all the stickers and you're like, just take one, kid. Batman's not doing so good today on the vision angle here, on the eyesight.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's a good way to break the ice. And if the kids don't have a camera or a parent to get a picture, here's a sticker as a memento. And it's a lot of fun. Another way to be creative with cosplay.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
But I usually save the last question as a sort of like, where can people learn more? Where can people follow up and find information sort of question, as well as what you're working on? So, anything you'd like to share along those lines?
Well, I'm on YouTube and have several tutorials. Those are my most viewed videos where I just show what I did to make my costumes, like the Adam West Batman, Spider-Man, all these costumes. And people, I think, watch them just to go, oh, I just don't know what to do for the gloves, or how did he
Mm.
make that belt? And if that's all they get out of me, even just that, that's great that I can help somebody that way. So just look for my name, Al Bigley, on YouTube. Um, I'm on there. Of course, I'm on X and Twitter, Facebook. Most of my costumes can be seen at my blog spot, which is right there.
Nice,
Just look for,
nice.
what is that? Bigley with two G's and two E's. I think if you just put that in, you're going to find my page.
Nice.
I
Love
can't
it.
see anything. Um, and I'm easy to find. I'm on Facebook too. Just write to me if you got a question. A lot of people write to me with, "Where'd you get that? I've been looking all over for that. Where'd you get those gloves?" And sometimes I have to disappoint them and say, "Well, a local seamstress made them, and then I did this to them." And there is a misconception, like on some of the Batman 66 pages, where I'll show that cosplay, and people will just say, "Where'd you get that?" Like
Mhm.
all of it was purchased at Walmart after Halloween or something.
Right.
And I have to go, well, the mask came from Chuck Williams. The gloves were made by a friend. I made this. I made that. But you go through the whole litany, hoping you don't put them off, because what you're telling them is you can do this too. I'm sure you can buy a ready-made suit. It's not going to be cheap,
Hmm.
or you can make all of it. If you go look for tutorials on making every bit of that particular costume, I'm sure they're out there too. I grew up at a time when, like growing up in the 70s, asking my mom for a Batman cape and cowl.
Oh,
I don't even think you could find patterns. I remember us going to sewing stores thinking there's got to be a pattern for this. And of course, she just did her best and made a little cloth mask, and she stuffed the two ears with cloth and sewed them on the mask. So of course they went like this when you ran.
right.
And the cape was attached because in the comics it was all one piece. And God bless her, she did her best. But
Yeah.
now we've got the internet, and I'm sure you could type in anything for. I remember a little kid in kindergarten made his own Batman suit, and he took an empty Clorox rigid jug and I think inverted it and somehow made that rigid cowl. And I thought that's the smartest thing I've ever seen. Of course, I'm in kindergarten, um, because everything else was just the face mask that Ben Cooper put out, or your mom made you a little ill-fitting hood with the ears flapping
Hmm.
all over the
Hmm.
place. So, but again, here's that lesson again. Cosplay just leads to learning about and engaging in more creativity. Here's your objective. I need to make this. It's in my head, just like any art, any painting, any
Hmm.
sculpture. I got this thing in my head. How do I bring that into reality? What do I have to do? What do I have to learn? What can I not learn and buy? What can I add? What can my friends help me with? It's just, I just love that sense of creativity in
Yeah.
making that particular kind of art.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, uh, glad to have you back anytime to talk about creating cosplay. I do hope I run into you at a convention at
Yeah.
some point as well. And shall we say same bat time, same bat channel?
You said it, not me.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Al.
Thank you for having me on.